It was one of those evenings when the city's noise felt like distant murmurs, fading into the whispers of a lonely wind. The park was nearly empty, except for a few scattered leaves dancing. Across the worn-out path and a woman sitting silently on a wooden bench. Her name was Amelia, once a bright and ambitious architect who had dreams of designing cities that touched the clouds. But now her life felt like the ruins of her own blueprints, broken, unsteady and silent. Her eyes were red from crying, her fingers trembling as she clutched an old letter that had changed everything. Just 3 days ago, she had lost her fiancé, Ethan, in a car accident, just weeks before their wedding. Her world collapsed in a single moment, and the colors of her life had turned grey. She had been coming to this park every evening, sitting at the same bench where Ethan once promised to build their dream home someday. But now she sat alone, broken, watching life go on around her, while her heart stayed frozen in grief. As the streetlights flickered on, a small voice broke through the silence. "Miss, are you okay?" She looked up, startled, and saw a little boy, no older than 6, standing in front of her, holding a small toy car in his hand. He had a dirt smudge on his cheek, wearing a faded blue hoodie that was slightly too big for him. His big brown eyes sparkled with innocence and worry. Amelia quickly wiped her tears and forced a weak smile. "Oh, I'm fine, sweetheart," she whispered, though her cracked voice betrayed her pain. The boy tilted his head, unconvinced. "You don't look fine, miss. Daddy says when someone's sad, it's like their heart is broken." Amelia's chest tightened. She wanted to say something, but the lump in her throat wouldn't let her. The boy looked down at his toy car, the front wheel missing, then looked back at her. "My car's broken too," he said softly, "but Daddy fixes broken things. He can fix anything. Maybe he can fix you too." The words hit her like a wave of warmth and pain all at once. She stared at the boy, tears glistening again, but this time not just from sadness. "That's very sweet," she managed to say. "Where's your daddy now?" The boy smiled proudly and pointed toward a small stall near the corner of the park. It was an old wooden repair stand with a sign that read, "Fix it all, watches, toys, shoes and more." Behind the counter stood a man in his late 30s, with grease-stained hands and a calm, gentle face. He was repairing a clock under the yellow glow of a small lamp. The boy waved at him. "That's Daddy. He says everything can be fixed, if you just take the time to understand how it broke." Amelia's eyes followed the boy's hand, watching the man work with quiet patience. Something about him, his focus, his calmness, made her heart ache and flutter all at once. The boy grinned and held out his toy car. "Do you want to come? Daddy will fix your heart too. He's really good at fixing things." Amelia smiled faintly, unable to resist the boy's pure kindness. She stood up, following him to the little stall. The man looked up as they approached and gave a small nod of greeting. "Evening," he said warmly. "What can I fix today?" The boy placed the broken car on the counter proudly. "This, and maybe her heart too," he said innocently, pointing to Amelia. The man looked at her, slightly confused but smiling. Amelia chuckled through her tears. "Your son thinks you can fix broken hearts," she said softly. The man wiped his hands and replied, "I wish I could. But sometimes fixing something isn't about tools, it's about care." As he started working on the toy, Amelia watched him closely, the way his hands moved carefully. The precision, the patience. "You're really good at this," she said. He nodded. "Used to work in a factory once. When it closed, I started this stall to make a living. Life breaks things, but fixing them gives me peace." His words lingered in the air. When he handed the toy back, the boy cheered. "See, miss, Daddy fixed it." Amelia smiled, genuinely for the first time in days. The man looked at her kindly. "Sometimes, miss, what's broken isn't gone. It's just waiting for someone to see its worth again." She didn't know why, but tears rolled down again. This time they felt lighter, cleansing. She thanked him quietly and turned to leave. But the boy ran after her, hugging her leg. "Don't cry again, miss. Daddy fixes broken things." She bent down, hugged him back tightly, and whispered, "Thank you, little one." As she walked away, She looked back one last time. The man was smiling faintly, watching his son play under the lamplight. And for the first time since losing Ethan, Amelia felt something small but real, a flicker of hope. That night she couldn't sleep. His words kept echoing. Fixing something isn't about tools, it's about care. Maybe, just maybe, her heart could be fixed too. The next evening, Amelia found herself walking back to the same park, unsure why. Maybe it was the boys' laughter. Maybe it was the father's calmness. Or maybe she just needed to feel that warmth again. When she arrived, the boys spotted her immediately and waved excitedly. "Miss, you came back." She smiled, surprised at how happy she felt hearing his voice. The father, whose name she later learned was Daniel, nodded in greeting. "Evening again, miss." "It's Amelia," she said with a smile. "And you must be Daniel." He nodded a little shyly. "And this little mechanic is Oliver." The boy giggled, playing with his newly fixed car. "I told you Daddy can fix anything." Amelia laughed softly and sat near the stall. For a while they talked about small things, simple things. She learned Daniel had lost his wife to illness 3 years ago, and since then he raised Oliver alone, working long hours fixing whatever people brought. "It's not much," he said, "but it keeps us going." The ticking of a clock he'd just repaired. As the days turned into weeks, Amelia started visiting the park often. Sometimes she brought broken things too. A wristwatch that had stopped, a pendant, even a picture frame that once held her and Ethan's photo. Each time Daniel fixed something, he shared a small piece of wisdom about patience, resilience, and life. "Things break because they're used," he once said. "That's proof they mattered." The same goes for people. Those words stayed with her. One evening, as the sun set in shades of orange and gold, Oliver sat between them, drawing pictures on scraps of paper. "Look, Miss Amelia," he said proudly. "It's you, Daddy, and me. You're smiling now." Amelia's throat tightened as she looked at the drawing. It was simple, childish, but powerful. She realized she hadn't just found comfort here. She'd found something she thought she'd lost forever. Connection. Family and purpose. One rainy night, Amelia came to the stall again, carrying something wrapped in cloth. Daniel smiled. "What's broken today?" She unwrapped it slowly. It was a small music box, the one Ethan had given her on their first anniversary. "It stopped playing the day he left," she said quietly. Daniel took it gently, opened it, and began to work. The sound of rain tapping against the metal roof filled the silence. After a few minutes, a soft melody began to play, the same tune Ethan used to hum. Tears filled Amelia's eyes. Daniel looked at her gently. "Some things don't need to be forgotten," he said. "They just need to be held differently." Amelia smiled through her tears. "You fixed more than a box tonight," she whispered. Daniel looked away, his expression soft. "Maybe we both needed fixing," he said quietly. From that day, something unspoken grew between them. Amelia began helping at the stall, organizing, painting, sometimes just being there. Oliver adored her, calling her Miss Sunshine. She started smiling again, laughing again, and the pain that once felt unbearable started to fade into something gentler, a memory, not a wound. Months passed. The small repair stall became a familiar part of the park. People often stopped by, not just for repairs, but for the warmth that seemed to radiate from that little corner. One evening, as the three of them sat watching the sunset, Oliver climbed onto the bench and said, "Miss Amelia, are you still broken?" She smiled and looked at Daniel, who was watching her quietly. "Not anymore, Oliver. Your daddy fixed me." The boy grinned proudly. "Told you. Daddy fixes everything." Daniel laughed softly, his eyes meeting hers. And in that silent glance, everything was said, the pain, the healing, and the promise of something new. As the music box melody played softly in the background, Amelia realized that life had a strange way of rebuilding what was lost. Sometimes healing doesn't come from forgetting, but from finding people who see your broken pieces and still think you're worth fixing.